From averaging over 27 points this season to playing with legends like Kevin Durant, could Irving help Doncic's MVP chances? Well, it's the biggest trade of this season, with my sincere sympathies for the Los Angeles Lakers who couldn't bag Irving. Luka Doncic is probably in for a treat, and with Irving on Doncic's side, there's no doubt that it'll finally change the dynamics of the Mavericks, perhaps even give them a chance to turn their less than favorable season around. But let's take a look at the facts. Not only is Irving averaging 27 points, but he's also averaging 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Needless to say, I see this trade as an absolute win. So this gives me a reason to believe that pairing him up with Luka Doncic, arguably the best offensive player on the team, or NBA for that matter, is probably going to change up the pace for the Mavs. And who knows? The Mavs might have a better shot at bagging the 2023 NBA championship now. Having a superstar like Irving will only increase the chances of the Mavs making a deep playoff run in the West. But could this also increase Luka Doncic's MVP odds? Probably, and I'll tell you why. Look at it this way. Doncic's West-leading 37.6 usage rate will probably fall, but by playing off the ball more frequently and attracting fewer defensive duties, he might boost his odds at taking home the MVP title. Now let's get a little technical. Roles, usage, responsibilities, and positions all came into question when James Harden signed with the Brooklyn Nets. But Irving claims that he instructed Harden to run the point while designating himself as the two guard. This is a good indication of his compatibility with Luka, but perhaps you spotted something else as well. Irving and Harden didn't last. The truth is, he and Harden didn't mesh. Despite being aware of how they could do their best as a team, their planning and strategies didn't work out from the very beginning. But then again, it wasn't Harden's fault, because nobody ever really gets along with Irving, except for Durant, of course. But still, Irving is an amazing offensive player, and most important of all, the kind of offensive player who could really go well with a player like Doncic. I mean, sure, Irving might not care about his team's structure, but there's a good chance he might get along with Doncic like he did with Durant. So let's consider the difference in their stat profiles and how soon they cause offense within that permitted usage. So Irving can take advantage of the holes left by Luka's insane playmaking gravity by attacking them, because he's not just a much superior scorer, but also a player with a real talent for off-ball play. Look at it this way. He can pass the ball to Luka in an orbit, coming off screens, or doing a dribble handoff. I mean, it seems like a recipe for success. And let's not forget that Irving has been shooting in the 40s for most of his career on catch-and-shoot threes, where his current percentage is 38%. He can also drive, kick, and make a 3-on-2, or simply prevent double-dipping Luka overall. There's no denying that Irving has shown a drive to be a good player, because he definitely has Steph and Dame's versatility in terms of his ability to create and shoot. But usually a player like Irving doesn't pay a lot of attention to detail. I mean, take a look at last year's playoffs and the 2019 playoffs, when Irving bet on the Bucks as the leader of the Boston Celtics. Either way, the MVP race is on this year. The NBA rankings are now lower than Utah's Salt Flats. Teams who have home court advantage in the playoffs are separated by just a few games. Then there are those that don't even make the playoffs as we jump straight towards the All-Star break and final third of the season.
New team? How did it feel out there?
Incredible. Had natural nerves out here, so I was just trying to play well.
So, who's going to win the MVP race? Well, there are lots more players in the race, apart from Luka Doncic, like the Sixers' Joel Embiid, who might have a chance to win. But Luka also has a good shot. The only problem is that while Luka is obviously good on his own, there's only so much he can do to make sure his team does everything right. I mean, his numbers look good with 33.4 points, 8.9 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game, all the while shooting over 50% from the field and 35% from three. So he's good if we're strictly talking about stats. But there's no denying that the rest of the team needs to pick up the pace too, because at some point it's going to hurt Luka's stats and affect his chances of getting the MVP. Sure, Dallas is good as a team, but let's be real, they're not great. Having Irving on board will definitely help though, mainly because the Mavs lacked an offsider, which affected the team's record and their chances of winning games. games. But now that the Mavs made the right choice with having Irving on board, it means that things are going to look up and help the Mavericks sneak in some more wins. Sure, it might hurt their defense a little bit without Dorian Finney-Smith, but they could curve that by boosting their offense up to the top 5, and hopefully locking a top 3 seed in the West in the season's final third. If they manage to make that work, Luka could get some more space on the floor, and the wins will keep on coming, making Doncic a great overall pick.
But it feels good just to get acclimated. Been a long 96 hours to say the least, but I'm just grateful I got to play the game that I love.
But then again, there are other players like Giannis Antetokounmpo too. And to be honest, I think his improvement with each passing day should be considered illegal at this point. My man single-handedly dropped a 50-point closeout in Game 6 and won the NBA Finals just 2 seasons ago. I hope the NBA has a repairman on speed dial because Giannis has no regard for ceilings. The man is averaging 32.3 points every game, on top of 12.3 rebounds, 3 50-plus point games.
We kept our composure. We kept trying to get one step at a time. Offensively, we kept moving the ball, fighting one another, trying to make open shots. But at the end of the day, we kept playing.
The Greek Freak's undoubtedly the next best thing to happen to the NBA after Shaq. Yes, even though he's not even a center. I mean, he's still chaotic when it comes to defense on both the perimeter and interior. But every now and then, when other players like Luka are in the running for MVP, he comes out of nowhere and drops a 50-pointer like it's nothing.
A lot of guys appreciate that. It's been different, than some guys, they're really athletic. I wish I was.
So, needless to say, Luka has to work extra hard to compete with crazy good players like Giannis. And then there's Tatum, who's probably looking for a way to bump his chances for MVP too.
The way I started, so I knew I had to start better. I didn't expect to start that good, but
And let's not forget, his team holds the best NBA record as of right now. He's doing the best he ever has in his career with 30.9 points on average, 8.7 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and 60.9% true shooting percentage.
I wasn't really the athletic guy, Coming from here, they didn't really know what to expect.
The man is a beast. Not to mention, he has a very loyal fan base in the NBA. He's turned into the perfect mix of prime Kobe Bryant and Paul Pierce. On top of being loved by the media, he has amazing All-Star voting results to prove it. So, if he maintains his stats and keeps coming in clutch from time to time, Luka might be left in the dust. Sure, we can't count out LeBron, but let's be real. He's not in his prime anymore, averaging just 30.1 points, 8.5 rebounds, and 7.1 assists. Then again, it'll probably be foolish to count out King James of all people. Either way, this is the MVP pick. In the end, it's going to take every bit of each player's skill to come out on top. Luka might look good right now, but anything can happen in the NBA. That was all about how Irving will help Luka's MVP chances. See you next time.